Hi, Donnie. How you doing? Thank you so much for including your work. It's really smart to include the front of your poster along with the back, so that this way we can comment on adaptation. So that's intuitive and smart. Thank you so much for doing that. Front of the poster looks fantastic. If there's one thing I would say is kind of actually, no, I take that back. You did fix that, right? I think you do. Didn't you have the tagline spanned across this? I believe that you had that timeline span, and that created this big rectangle right here that created a degree of separation from the O and I away from the T. So I'm really glad to see that you had addressed that here. I think that the tagline is just a little bit too far from. I would say move that up just a touch, right about there or so. The proximity will draw a greater degree of connection if it's a little bit closer. Let's jump to the back. So I see that you didn't submit a PDF or a JPEG, so I downloaded this, but the problem is that it's compromised quality, so it's not the clearest picture, but enough, I think, that we can take a look. All right, looking at the composition, I think this is begging for color right here. I think the green color would probably be perfect. See that green for Morrison? It'd probably be perfect right up there. Right now, that's a little bit drab. I think we could add a little bit of visual engagement here by adding some color to that Nobel Prize for Literature. Watch your kerning here. A little wide here and here. A little wide right there. Other than that, you're looking pretty good. So just definitely watch your kerning there. And looking good. A little tight through here. The eye, on both sides of the eye, you're a little bit tight right there. Okay. Let's go through your body copy, and I need to increase this a little bit, but it's getting really blurry. So, okay, now you've got reverse type, meaning light color type on a dark color background. So this points to, typically if I reverse type, it's a great practice to use a sans serif typeface. It's much more readable in a reverse type setting. But if you want to use a serif, that's great. But my recommendation is whether sans serif or serif, whenever you reverse type, you want to increase the tracking because it'll make it much, much more readable. This drop cap, now I think that's a great idea to use the drop cap, but the only thing is like if we take a look at now that the drop cap is not really visually engaging because it's almost not noticeable. Now, theoretically, you don't want to drop a cap that's much deeper than 3 lines. But I mean, unless you're really going to overemphasize a drop cap and make it like 5, 10 lines, and we've all seen that. It's an interesting technique. Doesn't work in every situation, but it can be interesting. My recommendation is to take this drop cap and just make it a little bit bigger. It seems like the color from the drop cap was sampled out of the image instead of using this yellow color. It's hard to tell for sure, but I would make sure that you're using that yellow color here as well as in your typeface as well as in your timeline text. Um, I wouldn't change color on the timeline. I think that's overkill. You change color for what? Emphasis, right? But we don't really need emphasis in individual um, timeline entries because they're already emphasized, right? Right now, I think it's just creating a little bit of visual clutter down there. A visual clutter not being a derogatory term, rather a descriptive term, meaning too many visual elements converging in one area of a composition. Okay, let's go through the type. Um, but got to fix your rags, definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's a video tutorial in the announcements. You want to take a look at how to fix your rags here. Now, it's difficult to tell if you reduce the size of your numbers, but if you haven't, you want to do that. Um, or if this typeface has open type capabilities, and if it does have old style numerals, you definitely want to set your numbers in old style. Um, if not, definitely want to decrease the size of the numbers by about 20%, 25%, depending. You want them to not stand out so much. Numbers default are just, they're too big for the typeface. And so therefore we adjust numbers by either adding old style or reducing the size a little bit to fall more in line with the X height, the ascender, descender, I'm sorry, the baseline, ascender, and X height of the typeface. Okay, so let's see what we want to do here. Do some research, find out where you should be italicizing, um, and apply accordingly. Uh, African American, good dash, good dash. There's a dash there, not an M. A lot of people make a mistake of adding an M dash there, but that is definitely a hyphen. Okay, Again, that's a novel. Shouldn't that be italicized? The extra space between the comma and the S right there, and that plural for Morrison. Okay, so I don't see any application for, what I'm looking for is I'll be looking for, in the final, I'll be looking for a correct use of M dash, N dash, hyphen, the use of old style numerals or reducing your numerals, your regs, and the use of small caps as opposed to all caps. Okay, so let's go ahead and reduce the size here, and we'll go ahead and take, timeline looks great, really, really, it, the timeline draws a really wonderful um, harmony from the front. I'm digging the timeline. I think it's well done, well designed. Other than using those that different color, theoretically that is a, or I'm sorry, that's a widow. That's a widow. That's a widow. The widow is a line. It's a word sitting on a line of type alone. It's one of the first things that professional hiring professionals and or portfolio reviewers will be looking at is widows and orphans. So you want to, even in a tiny little type set like this, you want to avoid that. Okay. Other than that, I'm just loving this piece. This is coming along beautifully. This is gorgeous. Just gorgeous work. Gorgeous work. Very nicely done. Okay, so Tony, I just almost called you Tony. Okay, Donnie, nice job. Hey, if you have any questions or if I can provide any clarifications, let me know. But we're moving along just beautifully. So we still have a checkpoint or two left before your final submission, so we'll address anything there. But in the interim, let me know if you want me to address anything or if you have any questions. All right, great job, Donnie. Thank you very much for sharing.